Hello, welcome. We are the Holton Youth Cabinet, and today we have a podcast called Pride and Prejudice. So I'm Ben, and I'll be leading this.
Hi, I am Tobias.
And I'm Meg.
Let's start this.
We are talking today about pride in a modern setting because many recent legislations which were imposed like days ago are actually, as the recording by the way, are actually really negative for pride and for the LGBTQ plus community. And today we wish to talk about that. Who wants to go first?
So, in October of 2021, the promise of the banning of conversion therapy was announced. Only a few days ago, however, was, this actually, something had to be done about it. But it's not a complete ban, and I think this is disgraceful. Adults can allow consent to conversion therapy. They allow conversion practices within religious and faith-based settings, and this ban does not include asexual, bisexual, intersex, or non-binary people. It's not a full ban, and I don't think it should be celebrated as one.
No, that's fine. That's Tob, by the way. That was Tob speaking there. I mean, I don't even understand how you can try to convert an intersex person. That's literally
It's biology.
It's just their biology. Like, anyway, yeah. So obviously that's faulty because the government themselves have added exploits in. I mean, we also could consider a philosophical level of what does it mean for an adult to actively consent for something to cause harm to themselves. If someone is consenting, are they fully aware of the harm that it's causing? And the fact that in actuality, scientifically, psychologically, conversion therapy, as it's called, has no basis because you just can't change this. So can an adult meaningfully consent if they believe it does change an aspect of which it doesn't?
That's a really good point, then, is that something that doesn't have a true therapeutic basis shouldn't be advertised as such. How can anybody consent on that kind of inaccurate information?
They are changing the name from conversion therapy to conversion practice, which, is a change, but
It's so misleading.
Yes, it's very misleading.
Yeah, it's like how I practice to fly every day when I jump from my bed, but I don't succeed. I also find it interesting that, they allow it within religious or faith-based settings, which seems to act as if religion itself is just a very reasonable barrier that one can use as an exploit. I could decide that I have this new type of religion, and surely I ought to be able to use that if I can justify it to, to actually try to attempt to justify my own actions. Like I can say, I've got a religion that tells me that all people with dogs are bad, and all people who like dogs are bad, and this religion tells me that there's some divine being giving me permission. I mean, the issue with religion is it's genuinely just a belief. It's not innate. No one was born, they came out of their mother's womb holding a crucifix. It just doesn't occur. So why does this allow people to override other people on things which are genuinely innate, such as to be trans? It's sure your sex is innate, but your gender identity, that also can be innate for many people. So what sense does it make that some sort of a belief can override that?
The religion loophole was one of my first concerns when I actually, heard about the banning, because we have freedom of religion, of course, but we can't have harm being caused because of it legally. We understand that people who commit acts of harm based on religion, they get in trouble for that. Why isn't it the same thing when it comes to conversion practices?
Yeah, does it not ignore all of the harm that it is being caused. Like, I was watching something the other day, and it was a court case, and it actually, also to dive back into the concept of consent, it's always questionable. In these instances, they're also loaded. So the court case regarded a child in that instance, and it was in USA, but he had a religious family, and when he was discovered to be gay, they kind of put pressure on him, and they didn't want a gay person in their household. So he tried to seek conversion therapy, and clearly he wasn't fully aware of the harms. And they actually discussed in the court that his consent may not have been quite so meaningful to that. And it caused significant psychological harm to him, because I've never gone through it, but from what I've heard, it's basically just saying to you, you're wrong, the way you were born, we have an issue with that.
And sometimes it's more than just that. There are some cases of more extreme versions of conversion therapy where people will be shown, pictures of people of the same sex kissing, and then simultaneously pictures of dreadful things like people being abused to, make the mind associate that with that, which is very, very harmful, and it doesn't work. It just makes people scared.
Yeah, I think that many of this can result and can be done via fear mongering.
Mm-hmm.
You try to make someone be scared, it doesn't work. The claims that it does work are from people being so scared that they pretend it's worked, because otherwise they dread of the consequences. We could dive then into, say, the exceptions they've got, not including asexual, bisexual, intersex, or non-binary people in the ban. I mean, it's supposed to be a ban on people, surely it should be regardless, but say non-binary, that's still trans. So it doesn't even make sense on that front. Why would you say, oh, it's not all right to do it to a trans man, but it's all right to do it to a non-binary person? It shouldn't be all right to do it to anyone. It's very much as if they see non-binary people or people who aren't included in this ban as actual people. It's very dehumanizing to them. Bisexual people, I want to point out, I know they get tons of stigma,
yes,
even from within the LGBTQ plus community. So the fact that they can be converted, it's absolutely ludicrous. And asexual people, they're also commonly misunderstood. I mean, I'm not on social media much, but I'm aware of what J.K. Rowling said maybe a year ago, I don't know, however long ago. She was saying something really offensive to asexual people, when it's so much deeper than that. There's no chance of being able to convert these people as well, but it's treated as if you apparently could. And many of these things, such as sexuality, it's quite hard for some people to define. What do they do about a queer person? Someone who doesn't know what their sexuality is, or some people, their interpretation of it changes over time. The law isn't considering that nuance either.
I think a lot of these exceptions actually open the door to not really banning anything at all. Like saying that people who are non-binary aren't covered from this ban. So anybody trans could then be thrown under that umbrella, or anybody who is actually homosexual could be thrown under the bisexual flag, because they decide that actually any same-sex attraction would all be bisexual. So, and again, same with religion. You could argue anything is a religious belief, from these ideas.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. This podcast was Pride and Prejudice, and I hope that you can tune in next week.